folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you with my co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Thank you for being here.
And thank you, as always, Mr. Robert V. And we welcome all of you and we greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And we always thank you for joining us and listening in. And we always hope you learn something. Thank you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the whole point of the show is for you to learn something, to get something out of this, and then spark your imagination so that you will go out and you know learn something on your own. Become more than what you were before, and then some. So. But it's all about imagination and where it'll take you. Bring yourself back into the years of yesterday, where things were kind of different, and yet they're still the same.
Yep.
And
And also that we try to go to places where you're not going to learn this in school. Unless you
yeah,
do an independent study or you study Native American cultures or something, you're not going to hear this. And as Robert has shown, he's got some very old books, so that the information is very old versus somebody's opinion now.
well, and it's the thoughts how they were back then. What were these people thinking? When they, and when they were attacked by, Indians as they were traveling the plains, trying to get to their destination, thinking, hey, I just want to go to California and, get that gold, and I want to go hunting some buffalo so I can make some money. But yet I get out there, and guess what? I get attacked by these Indians because I don't understand it. Here they come, and what? I'm just a lonely guy. I didn't do nothing to them. It was all the hundreds of people that came before them. That's the problem. The one guy, they didn't really care. But when the people started going west, and this was kind of the problem, they started going west, and then they littered. Back then, you don't think about it, but they were littering, little by little. Their wagons were hauling uh, stuff, and they'd get too heavy, and then you just throw it out. And as you're traveling along the Oregon Trail or whatever trail you were traveling at the time, well, look, there's some buffalo. Let's shoot them. And then, of course, you got, well, we got some cows, and they got away last night. But our cows seem to had some diseases. And, well, they got in mixed in with the buffalo, and now all the buffalo died. and that's kind of how it went. And then the Indians are out there. They're like, hey, those buffalo, they're ours, and you're ruining our land. The white man is a dirty man. We're dirty. We are filthy, in a way, because we're out there. We littered back then. We poisoned their water holes by not caring. These people, after studying them, especially the Plains Indians, were very, very careful on how they maneuvered. And I'm going to get into all of that in a second here as I put all this stuff in a folder so I can what it is. And I took a bunch of notes today, so I have a bunch of preparedness about the Cheyenne. And you think that the Cheyenne Indians are Plains Indian, but they weren't always a Plains Indian. They were they lived in like uh, Illinois, Indiana, around the Mississippi River area. They were just on the cusp of all of that stuff. And as the white man moved west, the other tribes moved west, and these guys had to move west too. And as everybody moved west, well, because the things were getting crowded, as you'd say, right?
trying to
And
run from the white man.
well, yeah, because hey, well, the thing is they didn't farm like we do. They didn't pen up the buffalo. They just let them roam wild. They let the deer roam wild, and eventually, they populated themselves. They didn't have to do the work. So again, like I said last week about the Indians, spring, it's buffalo hunting season, and then there's summer is war season, and then fall is buffalo hunting season, and winter is rest time. And then you repair, you do things around your teepee and things like that. You really can't do a whole lot, so you just rest and you get ready for the big hunt again. And you keep doing this over and over and over. It's just a seasonal thing. But the white man doesn't have seasonal things like that. Maybe planting a garden or something, you do that in season. But to the big part of it, no. We don't do a season. We got work. Our job doesn't shut down because, well, it's out of season. It's time. It's winter. I'm gonna, your boss doesn't say I'm gonna pay you twice as much as normal, and then in the winter you just go home and relax, have the winter off, take 3 months off. Wouldn't you like that? Everybody would like that.
Yeah, well, working with the carnival, we used to do that. We'd have to go into winter quarters in about the 1st of November, and you stayed in winter quarters until about February. So,
Hmm.
and if your boss was good enough, then they paid for oh crap, unemployment insurance, so that you could collect unemployment for the 3 months that you were out of work. So technically, you had a 3-month vacation. So, but
Hmm.
yeah, there are things still like that, but not as much as it used to be. But most people can't do that. But all the years I was on the carnival, that's how my mom and pop used to vacation, was during the winter time.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. Very few jobs, uh, really work like that. And the ones that do, they ain't paying you really well either. Kind of forget to mention that.
Yeah,
um,
that's true. And that you gotta know that winter's coming and you're gonna be on unemployment. So
yeah,
but if you learn to live within your means, then it ain't so bad.
yeah, and yes, you prepare for it. That's another thing. When you're
Yep.
preparing for these things, yeah, you know what I mean. I worked at a seasonal job, kind of, and in the winter they keep us employed, so. But in the summer, I worked my ass off, and in the winter it slowed way down, and I made sure that I took it easy and I didn't spend a lot of money and I saved some up in the summer so that, well, I could have a good a good winter. If made sure I paid for my gas ahead of time and getting a winter fill in July kind of thing, and I made
Yep.
sure. Yeah, see, Susie Q says can't hear you compared to David. Yeah, I don't know. I'm working on it. I got to get a different microphone or something. Something is wrong that my thing. I got it turned all the way up. I don't know what it is. I've tried this microphone, that microphone. Uh, So anyway, Nina says,
And he,
"Have a good night."
he's blaring to me. So
Yeah,
maybe I don't think it's your microphone. I think it's how it's going out to
could be,
the
could be.
internet. I would check a program setting versus your microphone setting. But anyway, I can hear him fine, Susie Q, and everybody else. I mean, his microphone is blaring to me. So
Yeah,
it's not your microphone. Me being
yeah,
an old microphone radio person and tech person, dude, it ain't your microphone.
yeah. Give a big shout out to everybody. Oh man, we got people. I see. Nina the Mystic is here. Travis the Architect. Lucky Stone, Susie Q. She says, I can't hear you. But anyway, that's all right. We'll figure it out. Nina's got she says, good night, everyone. Don't forget to get to her hump day message tomorrow. F Kitty's in the house. And let's see, who do we got? Richard, he says, hey, Hawkeye. Robert, thank you for being here.
Howdy,
And
everybody.
Lady Spitfire came to join us tonight. Thank you. Haven't
Oh,
seen you in
hey,
a
girl.
while. Oh, yeah, she managed to come and join us tonight. Oh, she says, I am the first one here. Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you. Now remember, if you don't see a lot of people in chat, you may be on the Robert V Adventures channel, which is also streaming, and at the same time. So if you're on that channel and you don't see anybody else in chat that I'm talking about, well, get over here to the Milky Way. Yeah, that's where it seems like a hot spot of chatting is. So let's get back to the Cheyenne. Tonight was the Cheyenne warriors of Cheyenne people. Now remember, there's a northern Cheyenne and there is a southern Cheyenne. And I do, of course, of all things, I do have pictures. And I'm going to put them up in a second here. So we get a map of everything. And, because who doesn't like a map, right? And visual aids, people, visual aids. Okay. Now, we know this map as our history was written. But before the Cheyenne came out west here in the, between Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas, and Montana area in this section, where you see their name right here, they were actually from the Mississippi Valley area. But like I said, they moved along with everybody else. As the coast here got populated by the Europeans coming across, everybody moved over. Most of these, like the Sioux and everything, who were dominant in Wisconsin and Minnesota area and upper Michigan, they moved over and they became Plains Indians, along with the Pawnee, the Cheyenne, and all these other ones. But that was not to last, people. Not to last. Elderberry's in the house. Hello, Elderberry. So the Cheyenne came out west somewhere in the early 1800s, and along what encouraged their move was the horse. Back to the horse. And the horse, let them to, hunt more buffalo and stuff like that. And then they became a Plains Indian, along with the Apache, the Kiowa, the Pawnees. There's a whole bunch of tribes out here, and we'll get into them later. The idea was they're out there and they were fighting with the white man because they wanted to preserve the Indian life. Pearl Jones is in the house. Pearl, we got to get the Good News Show together. There you go. Anyway.
Blessings to you, Pearl.
Yes, I seen your cooking thing. I'm gonna make that pot of pork and potatoes with the onion. I like that recipe. You should write it down and send it to me. Anyway, thanks. I can look at the video. That was a good video of that. She did a nice video. You got to go check it out. Anyway, the Cheyenne broke up into two sections. The northern side Cheyenne that lived up here in Montana, Wyoming area, and then there was the southern Cheyenne that lived down by Colorado, Kansas area. Back when they lived down the Mississippi Valley area, they lived in earthen villages, like we've talked about before. But once they became a Plains Indian, they incorporated the teepee into their style of living, where they could break it down and move it quickly. And that is because the teepee was warm in the winter. It was cool in the summer. It was windproof. It was, even with strong winds, it was portable. It had a thing for smoke. So the way the teepee worked, there's air that comes from beneath, and it acts like a big chimney, so you didn't smoke yourself out like you might have done in an earthen lodge.
Yeah, but I've been in a teepee and we got smoked out. It depends on how you set that teepee up, and there
uh,
are two flaps at the top of the teepee, and you have to use those as directional units to help suck the air out of the teepee. But you can get smoked out really quick in a teepee, by the
yeah.
way.
Yes, you can. And it's like a chimney, and once you get it hot, the hot air rises, and it natural, just like any chimney. Why did when you start your stove, it just all backs up and comes out the front? Is because the chimney ain't hot, and once the chimney gets hot, it starts moving the air. But I wanted to talk about that too. You just brought up a good subject. Well, the Indians, they would put their teepees in a circle. And they would, as they would camp by a river or a lake or some water source, right? But they would face their teepees. This was a good one. They would face their teepees in a certain direction, they said, and I suppose that's because of the fires inside, if the doorway's there or whatever, but they faced their teepees a certain way towards the sun or to the west or however it was. But that was an important thing. I wrote that down.
Yeah, if you get northwest winds, you don't point your teepee, the door of your teepee, or those two flaps, which are usually right over the door,
Yeah.
and so you face it opposite of northwest. You point it southeast, so that those northwest winds don't just blow right into your teepee. So you have to, they're very aware of the weather. And having had in Tennessee one time, they set our teepee up and it was right in the direction of the wind. And it snowed and blew, and all the wind would blow and gust and push the smoke back down the teepee. It was horrible. But you have to be able to set it up right. And the night we spent that in that teepee, it was not facing the right direction. So direction is very important. Also, depending on the tribe, they also had a spiritual reason for facing it in the direction that they did. So, and it depends on the tribe, and they varied.
Yes, it did. Okay. Oh, she says, I can barely hear Robert, and David is blaring loud. You know what? I got an idea. Just give me a second. David, do some talking. I am gonna. I got an idea how to fix.
Right, and one thing I want to, since he got started on this with the, moving west, consider yourself where you've lived in an area and you know how to hunt and fish and everything. And then all of us, and if for those of you who have not been out west to the prairie, oh, trust me, it's a change. It is a really big difference. So in these great big differences, here are these whole tribes of people that have lived their lives in a particular ecosystem. And now they're moving. And, they're not really used to moving. They're used to staying pretty much in the same place. Or, they don't move very often. And now they're going to have to move out west, and they're going to have to move often. That's one of the reasons why they have the teepee. It's not so much. Got a bad echo.
Yeah. No, I see what we're doing. Hang on a second.
No problem. But for the people who, for the Cheyenne who moved west, if they went north, it was even more difficult because it was a lot more cold weather. And so the southern tribe might have fared a little better simply because they were south and the weather was different. But so they also had to contend with the weather. Because if you moved up into North Dakota and South Dakota, it's a whole lot different than Iowa or Indiana or Illinois. It's a lot different. And also the plains are different. There ain't nothing out there. So you're going to have to learn how to find firewood and how to be able to live more sparingly maybe than you did before, because the scarcity of wood, and now you got to burn buffalo chips, and now you got to do this, and so your whole world is turned upside down. You have to adapt really quick.
Okay, I think, how's that for the voice? I hope they can hear me. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hello?
I can.
Oh, okay. That's what I want to know.
Oh, I thought
want to
maybe
know. I just want to know if they could hear me.
right. That's why I was being quiet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Can you hear him now?
She says, yeah, it sounds a lot better. Yeah, okay.
Groovy.
Okay, good. Much better, Richard. I know what the problem is now.
What's that?
Well, you're on a cell phone, and because I got the computer, it gives a cell phone for speaking, just the volume. I don't know how to get over that, though, but oh well.
Do I need to turn down?
No, you're good. Susie Q says, yes, thanks, Robert. So, I just don't know how I can get this to work. I want to get my face off, but that's weird. Oh, I hope I. That's cool. I'm doing it. Okay. Yeah. That. I can just hear it. Weird.
You have two cameras on.
Yeah. Trying to do it off the phone and the camera, but it just. I'm gonna have to do this. Maybe this will work. Okay. Is that better? That's still not working. Isn't it amazing how that stuff works? You get it too close to each other and it goes to shit. Maybe I'll have to do it like this. Okay, let's do this. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's figure it. I figured it out. Now everybody can hear me, even though I'm doing the thing. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. Okay. So where were we? Now they can hear me. Okay. I got next map.
Okay. Let me finish up what I was talking about. Go back to that last one for just a second. But so anyway, the Cheyenne had to move out of their comfort zone. And so anytime you have to pull up stakes and move out of your comfort zone, just imagine what it was like for anybody to have to pick up stakes and move out west. And, if you've ever seen movies about west where there are a lot of plains and grass and so forth, it's a lot different east of the Mississippi. And that's what they had to contend with. So, but anyway, just in listening about this, think about the hardships they had to endure to make that transition.
Oh, absolutely. So then you can see this is the northern, this is Montana. This is where they ended up, that big whole section they had, and this is what they got now. It's kind of sad, isn't it?
It's horrible.
Yeah. So anyway, back in the day, you have the Oklahoma territory, and that's where they wanted to put everybody, is in Oklahoma. And this is a map from 1868, 1892, sorry. And if you look on this map, you can see all the different peoples from the eastern side of the United States at this point. And as you can see, you got the Choctaw, you got the Creek, you got the Cherokee, you got the Osage, you got the Cheyenne and Arapaho little piece over here because they're still running wild. You got the Wichita, those are from Kansas, they're there. they gave everybody a little bitty chunk of land. Comanches and the Apaches were over here on this chunk. Um, you know, if I was an Indian back in them days, I would be happy because look, I mean, this is my land now. Here's the Pawnees. They just got this little chunk of land here. The Kiowas, I can't even see some of these names. They're they're just little chunks. That's it. You know, I mean, how would you feel being, having a whole place to yourself, and all of a sudden here's this little chunk of land? I mean, that's and for your whole nation, and you got marched there,
and you'll get shot at if you leave it.
Yes, yeah, pretty much. Indian Territory in 1868, and here you go, government land. And then, this is how they had it divided up already back in 1868. This is like right after the
Civil War.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
I can't go back to that one, please.
Yes.
Is the green Indian Territory or the red?
No, it just says U.S. government land.
Oh, but does it specify? I can't see because it's a tiny screen.
Yes, the green here it just says government land. The red says Indian Territory. So,
okay.
They're dividing this up. They already got this figured out. This is Indian Territory. This is where they were moving the Seminoles, the Creek, the Cherokee. Everybody, all of these people were living here. This is still empty land for more of the Indians to be put in. They had this all planned out, ages before. That's the point.
But so the green is just future land for the government.
Yeah, future land to divide up for the Indians.
Or right, or to divide up with the white people. But okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then of course a lot of these maps here is just to tell you where the Plains Indians roam this here section, which most of the American people wanted to be on the coast. And then the coast, this is where the gold was in the California, the coast over here, and they had to get across. Now you could take a boat and go all the way around South America and come out the other side. But the problem is that if you did that, well, you got a problem. It takes a long time and it's really expensive. Well, you can get in your buckboard and you could just, hoof it on over. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, and also the trip around the South America is also very dangerous.
Yeah,
the tip of South America is where the Atlantic and the Pacific come together, and they have outrageous storms, and the seas are 20 feet high. And okay, let's go. I volunteer. Let's go through 25-foot waves. Yay!
Yeah, a lot of people, before there was good ships, a lot of people died on the voyages.
Yes. Never heard of again. Entire ships and crews and cargoes.
Yeah, they sank. People got sick. Things like that is terrible. Here's another picture of the territory. And as you see, this is all the Plains Indians. You get the Northern Arapaho, Northern Cheyenne, the Shoshone, the Crow. The Crow are right on the mountainside there. The Sioux, the Pawnee, Colorado's down here where you got the Southern Cheyenne and the Southern Arapaho. The Cheyenne and the Arapaho were pretty much definitely Plains Indians for sure. They really had the Plains thing going on. So put it that way. Anyway, okay. Let's see, where am I going with this? Anyway, what happened?
Let me add something. So not only did they have to move west, but they also had to contend with these other tribes. And at the same time, these other tribes are running into the Cheyenne going, hey, who are you? And what are you doing here? So there was contention between the tribes because The white man is making sure that even though they've got whole states that are huge, they're also realizing they're being they're being crunched up in numbers. You know, they're being forced. They're all being forced west.
Yes, absolutely. So they're all being, now they come to the end. You know, once you get butted up against the Rocky Mountains, if you go into the Rocky Mountains, you don't get that hunting and the buffalo, and they're mad because the Indians are mad because the people are coming across it. Like I said, they're shooting the buffalo, things like that, the deer, anything and everything, drinking up their water holes. Their animals are grazing on their land. That the Indians, they may have not herded up the buffalo and took care of them like you would cows, but they did know that the grasslands were important, and they only, I was doing a thing on the Indians. Okay, so here, hang on, their big thing is they wanted to preserve Indian life, right? And they were being taken over by these people coming across for the California gold rush. Well, the people were bringing diseases like cholera, and it reduced the population of the Cheyenne Indians by half. It took a devastating toll. I mean, think about it. Every other person would die. That's terrible. Now,
young or old.
Yes, doesn't matter. But sickness don't care who you are. So anyway, here we go. The bands. This is going to tell you a little bit about how they banded together. Now, remember, if you have too many people together in a small space, and they got horses, and they got to hunt and eat and do all these things, they basically had 10 leading bands, and several subordinate bands that were under them. So maybe about 15 bands. The bands were small. They were made up of several kindred, which were relatives, like hey, I'm your brother, and that's my sister's husband, and cousins, and they made up little groups inside a tribe. And you would have between 25 and maybe 100 people in this tribe, maybe a few more or less, but after that you couldn't support so many people in an area unless you kept moving continuously. You know what I'm saying? Now, each band had 4 chiefs who selected 4 other chiefs, and they did what we're supposed to do with our government. Believe it or not, it always stays the same. The chiefs were supposed to do the will of the people, not like, that's what our government was set up to do, is the will of the people, and instead the people work for the will of the government. Is that not right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, during the buffalo hunt seasons, the people would all come together and hunt buffalo. So all the tribes would get together while there was plenty of food. The buffalo are being hunted. There's lots of food. The grass is green in the spring, and you can all get together and associate, etc., etc. But how did they figure out when the buffalo hunt was going to be? They elected, believe it or not, a council of 44 members. They were to do civil duties. They planned locations of the next hunt. They planned locations of where each tribe was going to go, so you didn't run into another tribe and take all their supplies too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They were like judges, and they ruled on affairs. They discussed the tribal hunts and made dates, and said, on the 3rd moon in March, that month, when the buffalo, the calves turn red, that's when we're going to go and hunt buffalo. And so meet us in down by the Sand Creek down there, and so that's how they knew, and they planned this all out. They directed religious ceremonies. They they directed campsites, the locations of the campsite. They did all the things. This council would sit around during the buffalo hunts when they got all together and decide all these matters, so the people could go and hunt. Now, what about the buffalo hunt, you say? The buffalo hunt, did you know it was against Indian law, or at least their law, to go out and hunt a buffalo by yourself? They knew how valuable the buffalo were, and they made it a taboo that if you went out and hunted a buffalo by yourself, you were subject to much punishment. They would cut your teepee up. They would beat you. You would be punished. They would even kill your horses. It was a big crime to, kill or go out and hunt buffalo. When you went hunting buffalo, you took, a group together. You'd say, "There's buffalo over yonder, and tomorrow we're going to go hunt the buffalo." And everybody, yes, I think F. Kitty says it good. They were really good resource managers. They, knew what the buffalo meant. They knew how to get around, the logistics of it. They knew that the buffalo were dangerous, and they know that you can't just kill one buffalo, throw it over your shoulder, and take it home. They weigh 2,000 pounds,
and you can't. And if you cut meat out of it, most of it's going to spoil.
That's right. So you don't. Go ahead.
Also, native folks, like folks around here, we know when the birds are coming south or when they're going to go north. All you got to do is watch the seasons. So for over the many years and centuries, they knew where the buffalo were going to migrate. So they knew the migration patterns, and they might be a week or so off, with weather, whatever. But they sent out scouts to find if the buffalo were on track, So, but they very much knew the whereabouts of the buffalo because of migration habits. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Yes, you were exactly right. Now the Cheyenne tribe was made up, the whole tribe, at the time of the record, they recorded it, was about 3,500 people. They had, I forget what year this is. I wrote it down. Anyway, there was 60% of them were women, 20% children, and 20% were old men and older men. And altogether, the whole tribe only had about 800 to 1,500 warriors, give or take. I mean, you think that, oh boy, they had this huge tribe. They really didn't. They were just really good horsemen and warriors. And the thing was with these people, they relied on their warriors, and it was really important. Did you know? And I wrote this down somewhere. Okay, this is about when they go out, right? Now they go out to be warriors. They go out to count coup. That was the biggest thing. They fought before the white man came. They had bows and lances and war clubs. They tried really hard to avoid losses, because the loss of a warrior could, if you lose too many warriors, your tribe, you would lose your whole tribe, because those were the guys that went out and hunted, and those were the guys who did all the protecting and things like that. So losing, warriors was very,
the tribe suffered.
Yes, it suffered greatly. But when they didn't lose it, say they went out on a battle or whatever, and they came back and they didn't have any losses or very little losses, they would have this ceremony before the
and by the way, they may have brought prisoners back.
Well, yeah. Either way, but mostly not, unless it was like young women or something like that, because you wouldn't bring too many people into your tribe that you couldn't support. But they would have this ceremony. The warriors would be coming back, and they would camp outside of the village, maybe a mile or so. And when they camped there, they would get ready to go into the village, and they would have this painting ceremony where they painted the bottoms of their robes and decorated themselves before returning to the village. And they wore they did the painting ceremony when they had success in their battle or whatever they were doing. And so I thought that was kind of interesting because you never hear about that. Like, oh, we're returning. We're going to stop here. We're going to decorate ourselves. We're going to paint our robes and our things. And then we're going to parade in the village as a successful, campaign we did. Now we're going to get back into
sort of like Caesar did back in the day.
Yes. So like I said, the buffalo hunt, it was in moving and being a Plains Indian, consisted a lot on the horse. And the Cheyenne people were big on the horses. They got their horses when Coronado and DeSoto came to the New World, and they were exploring. And of course, both expeditions lost bunches of horses, which multiplied on the multiplied. And by 1680, the people of the Pawnee people, they had horses, and the horses were getting to be popular. Well, the Cheyenne, they usually captured their horses from their enemies. They raided for horses. Their wealth was built on how many horses you had. That was one of the bigger things. They had and then that brought them to that method of harvesting the buffalo. And you could harvest the buffalo better with a horse because you could go out there, they said, and their technique was to go out and pick out certain ones without scaring the herd or endangering the herd or making them run off. The Indians also, if you didn't know, would burn the prairies. And you may think, oh, you're burning the prairie, or you're getting rid of. They would burn the prairies because the grass would come back thicker and lusher from the burning the next year for the buffalo. So there was a method for all of this. Okay, so
just like the Aborigines burn, and just like we do controlled burning down here in the South. Right now is the time of year that they do controlled burning, by the way. So, but anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. So here's the people of the plains. Here's a good list of them. You got the Arapaho, the Blackfeet, the Crow, the Kiowa, Comanche, the Northern Cheyenne, the Southern Cheyenne, the Osage, the Sioux, the Pawnee, the Hidatsa, the Mandan, the Arikara, the Sarkree, the Assiniboine, and many more. And they all lived in this area. Here's Wichita's, the Comanches down here, the Quapaw, and Ottos, the Omaha, and a lot of these you go, what? The Wichita? Well, where do you think all these places got their names? Wichita, Iowa, here Omaha, Nebraska, I mean, the white man came in, wiped out the Indians, took the name and named the states and thought it was a great thing. Gotta love it. Anyway, then we go, now that I got the base down for everything, we're going to go to the wars. And it starts out here. We want to go to the Colorado War, but I want to get this other war in first. And this is the war that really started things off. And if I can find it here, and I think this is it. Here, yes. Yes, okay. I'm pretty sure this is the one. And this was the Fremont Orchard battle in Colorado. And this was a really crazy one where the soldiers, this is in 1864. So now, everybody's got, carbine guns. A lot of them do. The soldiers are starting to migrate out west because, the war is almost won. It ended in 1865. So, The war is almost won. People are starting to go west. And here's what happened. And this was April 12th, 1864. This receiving information from W.D. Ripley and Bayou, the Indians had been taking stock and committing depredations of the ranchmen on that creek. In this morning, sent Lieutenant Dunn with 40 men of companies H and C to recover the stock, also to take from them their firearms. And the more I read about these battles and things, every time the soldiers went out, they were instructed to take the Indians' firearms. And I'm thinking, dude, you take their firearms, they're going to be pissed. Maybe they'll give up the stock, but why would you take their firearms and then send them away? It's like, dude, you just made me vulnerable to every other Indian and everybody walking by that has a gun. And I'm an Indian and you're going to shoot me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I as practically speaking, I would be like, hey, go get their stuff. Don't just leave it out on the, wow, look, they got rifles out there. Well, go get them. I mean, just sounds practical to me,
Yeah. So the soldiers are instructed to get the firearms. This evening, an express arrived, and Lieutenant Dunn, who states that after a hard ride, they came up with a party of some 15 or 20 Indians, who, on seeing the soldiers approach, drew up in a line of battle and made all preparations for a fight. And finally sent forward one of their party to shake hands, and at the same time began to drive their stock back into the bluffs. They soon all came up and wished to shake hands. Lieutenant Dunn then demanded the stock and commenced disarming the Indians. When they turned and started firing, wounding 4 of Lieutenant Dunn's party, 2 mortally, meaning they pretty much killed him, and 2 severely. Lieutenant Dunn had previously divided his party, sending part of them across the country to intercept the Indians, and at that time of the skirmish had with him but 15 men. This much I have learned from the messenger verbally. The skirmish occurred on the north side of the Platte, 3 miles below Fremont's Orchard. The Indians were going north. It will be well to telegraph Fort Laramie that they may be ready, for this may be the signal of an uprising. And then it's he'll send the expressman. Lieutenant Dunn has just arrived with reports that none of his men were killed, and several of the Indians were seen to fall from their horses, but being freshly mounted, succeeded in getting them away as soon as the horses ridden by Lieutenant Dunn's men were tired by the long hunt after the Indians. After traveling nearly 80 miles, now that's a long ways on a horse, people. If you travel 25, 30 miles in a day on a horse, you're doing good in my eyes. But if you did 80 miles, your horse is going to be ready to drop over dead.
Yep.
So Lieutenant Dunn and Chase will proceed in the morning on their trail. I've sent for Jerry to act as a guide, also McWade to hurry forward our arms. The Indians were armed with rifles and a Colt revolver and bows and arrows each, and were evenly evidently on the warpath, as they did not talk anything about fight. Send down at least 8,000 more cartridges for the carbines for this command. And that was the first battle, which led up to other battles. And there's a lot to all of this. So
can I interject something here? The Indians might have had rifles and a revolver, but they had to have ammunition also. So you can have a gun all day long, but if you shoot off all your bullets, and the Indians didn't have a ready place to revamp their stores of ammunition where the soldiers did. So, but anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. The Indians had rifles, but did they have ammunition?
Well, yeah. Well, and that's the thing. You know, hey, we're running low on ammunition, so send us 8,000 rounds. You know, the Indians, I got a handful, and when it runs out, I'm done.
That's it. So,
So,
in some folks' eyes, it may be, well, the Indian was armed as well as as the soldiers. But yeah, but the soldiers had 8,000 rounds and the Indians had 5
yes,
rounds.
yes. So, anyhow, there was other battles. The Indians were going. The U.S. government. I'm going to sum a lot of this up real quick so we can get through it. But what basically happened leading up to the Sand Creek massacre in 1864 was a tragedy. It was a real tragedy because the Indians were attacking people more and more because the people were coming down the trail. They were making houses. They were butting right up against Indian land. It wasn't a good thing. More and more people are going west. They're shooting the buffalo. Like I said, the Indians need this stock because they're hungry. Hey, you chased away all the buffalo, and now you got all these cows and horses. And, by nature, that's what I do is go and steal cows and horses. So I just stole your cows and horses, right?
Counting coup.
Yeah, so that was nature for them. That's what they do. So they were doing what they were supposed to do. But the U.S. government says, hey, wait a minute, we can't have this. They wrote up a treaty at Fort Laramie. They had all the tribes come out, and they explained to them, this will make peace among the Indians and the white man. Sign the treaty. It'll be great. Unfortunately, the Indians who couldn't read the treaty got snickerdoodled. They got shystered big time. Bend over and take it kind of thing. They're going away happy thinking, and they all didn't sign it. They didn't all sign it. Some of them signed it, and the government says that's good enough. The government didn't look on it as each tribe. They looked on it as if we get 5 or 10 of them to sign it, we're good. Even if we get 2 or 3,
they figured 5 Indians signing something was like the whole entire nation signed.
Absolutely. So what happened is they signed this treaty. They learned after they signed the treaty that in fine print on the treaty was they were ceding 90% of their land to the government. They basically signed the treaty which said there'll be peace among the Indians and the white man as long as you go on this little chunk of land. Now, after that was said,
think about this: you got 100 acres and you end up with 10
or less, maybe 2.
Right, but but if they're going to take 90% of it, you have 100 acres, you get 10 acres out of it. They get 90 acres.
Yes, exactly. There's AKA Morningstar, and Chloe's in the house. Anyway, okay, back to the story. So what happens is this chief called Black Kettle, he says, okay, I'll do what you got to do. I want to keep peace. He went to Washington. He met with Abraham Lincoln, who gave him a American flag. And so he flew that American flag over his teepee, along with a white flag, an American flag and a white flag to signify that his tribe was a peaceful tribe, right? Well, and then they were told to camp in this spot down by Sand Creek by the military, right? Well, in November, which is a cold month, of 1864, roughly 700 federal troops attacked a village of 500 Cheyenne and Arapaho on Sand Creek in Colorado. An unprovoked act on men, women, and children. The massacre at Sand Creek marked a turning point in the relationship between American Indian tribes and the federal government. And that was not a good thing because that turned the tide of the thing that here's the better thing. Okay, so here's the Fremont's Orchard. That was that battle. And then, of course, you got Denver over here, which was pretty much a mining camp at that time. Camp Collins over here. Anyway, so the Sand Creek Massacre. So was the beginning, the ominous thing, the hostilities between the Union soldiers and the warrior clans since the uprising of 1862, where the government caught 2,000 Indians and hung 38 of them. Anyway, this is the story of the orchard and the Platte River in present-day Wyoming and Nebraska, southward towards the Arkansas River in present-day Colorado and Kansas. Basically the whole thing. What was it? Where was I? I got this other article that was really, really good, and I can't find it. Okay, the Sand Creek. Maybe this is it. The Shivington. John Shivington, that's the guy. And here's Black Kettle. We got pictures of these guys, believe it or not. Black Kettle says, I want a piece. I'm going to go camp down by the Sand Creek, right? Shivington was the guy who coined the phrase saying, listen, everyone, only good Indian is a dead Indian. That's how he liked it.
What was his name?
The only good Indian is a dead Indian.
Yeah, but who said it?
The Shivington guys, John Shivington. And
Shivington.
He was itching for a fight. And so one day, as the story goes, he decided he's going to go down. He wants to get some shooting in, and he's going to fight some Indians, right? And so he gets his men, who were pretty much half drunk, and quote me on these words, they were half drunk, and he said, come on, let's go fight some Indians. So they got on their horses, and he went leading 600 Colorado Territory militia soldiers from nearby Fort Lyon and attacked the Sand Creek camp of over 500 Cheyenne and Arapaho without any provocation, ignoring the American and white flags flying from the camp, the sign of their supposed protector status. The Colorado troops rode into the camp, opened fire, and many of the Indians took shelter in the high banks along the creek. As most of the men fled, as many as 163 were killed or wounded, some by artillery fire, and many of the Indian bodies were mutilated and their jewelry stolen. Some of the Indians put up a fight, and Shivington lost 24 killed and 52 wounded. More than half of the Indian casualties were women and children. A handful of survivors fled north, hoping to reach a larger band of Cheyenne nearby. Most of the chiefs killed were those who had advocated peace with the white settlers and the U.S. government. Many of the Cheyenne and other retaliated against the white settlers in Colorado and Wyoming the next year. Well, why wouldn't they, right? The controversial massacre profoundly influenced the U.S.-Indian relationship on the frontier for the rest of the century. And why is this battle one of the most important battles of the day? Do you know why?
Why?
Because once the rest of the Indians, it didn't matter who they were, the Cheyenne, the Arapaho, this is the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes, right? Once it reached the Sioux, the Crow, the Blackfeet, the Kiowas, any Indian on the plains that said, you signed the treaty, they told you where to go on the reservation and camp out. And then once you were camped out there, they went down with a huge army and shot all the women and children and, burnt your teepees down. Are you kidding me? We can't trust these Americans. We can't trust these people. See, here they are camped out. And then here they are. I got a picture of the fight here somewhere. But
basically minding their own business.
Yeah, here it is. Here's the Sand Creek. This is here's the high banks of the creek, and here comes the troops, and they just marched in and just started shooting and burning They literally wiped out the whole village. You know, you got your big giant flag here. The troops didn't care. They're half drunk. They're out there killing Indians. Woohoo! You know, um, and children, women and children. And the worst part about it is they started this is the American troops. They scalped people. They chopped off body parts, and then they went back through town parading these items, body parts and things, you know, and they were celebrated as heroes. Like, oh my gosh, you went and killed all the Indian, and wait a minute, you know. And then by time, you know, as time went by, all these troops had resigned or they had moved on. And so once it got to the top of the government, say, hey, you know, they went out there and they started a war with the Indians. We got to punish these guys. Well, all the guys they're done. They're out of military. They're out of the military. Remember, this is in 1864. And in 1864 there was like 1 million men in the military, and after the war was over, they let like 90% of those people go. So like within a year, you know, all these people were out of the military then. There was nobody to punish. So that's kind of what started the war. And then of course the Cheyenne here teamed up with the Sioux, and then we go up to Little Bighorn, which we discussed a couple weeks ago. But this here, the Battle of Sand Creek, is what touched the spark of this whole thing off. And
it united the Indians in a way that, you know, nothing else could. They murdered women and children. You know what? I mean, because even amongst themselves, they rarely did that. It was more warrior to warrior, mano y mano, you know?
Yes. And so that's what was happening is these Indians were, you know, they were being silenced, you know, in their own little way, because, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm fighting my other Indians, and wait a minute. And they woke up. Somehow that woke them up and said, hey, we got to join together and start fighting the white man, you know? And I got some cool Indian pictures of these people, so enjoy. You know, and dressed in their native. This is what they would have actually looked like. You know, nowadays, I think they've bred with a lot of white man, and the Indians don't quite look like that anymore, do they?
Some do.
Some do, probably, but you know, from the ones I've seen, they don't look as rugged, you know, as these guys.
But life isn't as tough now as it was then.
That is so true. That is so true. This is Chief something. I wish I knew what his name was. Here's Cheyenne. This is Wolf Robe, Cheyenne Indian chief. You know, the different tribes, they have this characteristic look. Like these guys, they have if you notice, they have a defining chin. They have a big, strong chin and a large nose. You notice that?
But also look at their cheekbones.
Yes.
They have high cheekbones.
Here's Clara Caulfield, Northern Cheyenne Tribe. Yes, high cheekbones, big chin, definitely a strong nose there too.
I embarrassed a lady here a couple of weeks ago, and I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, but do you have any Native American blood in you?" And she looked down and was like, "How did you know?" And I said, "No offense, it was your cheekbones that gave it away." But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a group of chiefs. This guy here's got one of those medallions on him. He's got a medallion. You notice that?
Oh, yeah, the one on the far left?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Huh. Interesting. Interesting. You know, they all got good eyes because nobody's wearing glasses.
This is porcupine, chief porcupine. There you go. Cheyenne Native American, 1878. You know, it is so cool. You know why we know so much about the Indians from the last bit of them is because we could record things. We had people who could write. We had people who could take pictures, record the history, just as as this great era was ending. You notice, you know that
Yeah.
that like here, you know, they recorded a teepee, an original teepee. Here's the flats, you know, that we were talking about. You know, the and how it was put together. You see how like in the front here, how the air spaces are. So the air is going to go in, and then it's going to come out here. And like you were saying, see how this one's down and this one's up to either direct the wind coming into the teepee.
Keep the wind from coming in the teepee.
Well, yeah,
Because
exactly.
it will blow back down the teepee. So one side is up and that's blocking the wind, and the other side is down to let the smoke out.
Yep, absolutely.
I learned that personally.
This is Chief Crazy Head. Chief Crazy Head. And this is a little more modern, as you notice, but you know, he's dressed in some you know, regular clothes. The Indians adopted a lot of clothing stuff, so you can see they got dog, they still got the horse, travois, you know, still living in a little wigwam thing or whatever they got.
All
This
right,
one
let
I
me
got.
interject something about the clothes. They probably moved to clothing because they're the ones that they had, they couldn't replace because they didn't have buffalo and stuff to hunt. You know, so they had to resort to, you know, current dress or whatever, and also to try to fit in. But, you know, they didn't have the resources. So what did they do? Well, there's a pair of pants over there because my breeches are worn out. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see what I was gonna say. Anyway, so then you got here, you got this one I got for you. This is a medicine bag. This is a Plains Indians medicine bundle. You know, you got your get well kit right there. And this one here, I managed to get painting the poles. I don't understand this, but I thought it was a neat picture because you don't usually get them doing things. So here, they're painting the poles, Cheyenne, in 1911. I don't know what, I'm going to have to look up painting the poles, what that is. Here, the Buffalo Man in Cheyenne. The Buffalo Man, it's it doesn't really say much about him, but I thought that was a really good picture of, like, say, a medicine man of some sort, you know, where he's got the buffalo horns and the on his head there, and he's painted up in some ways. You know, I don't know what he's practicing at the moment, but you know, very good picture, very good picture. You notice none of these guys are way overweight either.
Oh no.
Here's another guy. I liked his polka dotted shirt. I thought he was cool that way. I didn't have a name for this one, but you know, he's really fixed himself up, didn't he? This is Little Wolf and Dull Knife. Now, Dull Knife was this guy here sitting down as Dull Knife. He was a big time warrior, you know, big chief. There's a lot of stories about Dull Knife. Great strategy guy. Yeah. Here we got Spotted Wolf, Northern Cheyenne, 1866. Notice he's got his,
would you go back to that last picture, pretty please?
Yes.
Is that that's a Christian cross on his chest, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so think about that. with all the pictures we've seen, over the many episodes we've seen, how many of them had a Christian cross on them?
None. Now,
Just think about that. Now, so it almost looks like he's holding a flag. It's hard for me to tell. Around his waist, the guy that's standing.
Oh, it looks like a blanket.
Okay, but the fact that he's got a cross that's that big that he's wearing is significant. I can't tell you what it is, but it's significant because he would, if he's having his picture taken, he wanted to make sure he was wearing it.
See, the thing is does he really know what the cross is all about? And then there's these little U-shaped things hanging off of the cross. Like, you see what I mean? Is this a Jewish cross?
Oh, I can't tell. It's too small for me.
See the little U-shaped things hanging off of there? Is that a Jewish thing?
I don't know.
And then the question is, did he take it off of somebody or somebody give it to him? And, does he know the meaning of it? Or because, he's really displaying, but then he's got these little things hanging off of it. So, like we read about Black Elk. And Black Elk got a watch, but he didn't know what it does, so he hung around his neck like a medallion. He didn't know what it was. It was cool. It looked cool. It's like,
would you zoom into his head if you can?
Yeah, there you go.
Now, is that an X or a cross?
Yeah, it looks like an X.
Right. Okay. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just thought about it and was like, that's really peculiar. Maybe I should point it out. But anyway, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. This guy here, he's got his black powder rifle. You can see the snaps on it there for whatever. But anyway, and you notice what kind, he's wearing a hat. A lot of the Indians, when they, in the days, they got hats. Here's another one with the big cross. Wow, what that means, but he's got a hatchet. I liked it because he had his tomahawk in his hand,
Yeah, does he have anything hanging from it?
Nope.
The cross?
Unless he's got a little skull looking thing hanging here or whatever, but yeah. That's kind of interesting. I wonder why he's got a cross. I'm gonna have to look into that. If that's and here's Red Sleeves. Red Sleeve, a Cheyenne scout. What is it about the face that draws you that seems familiar to you? Red Sleeve. I don't know. Why does his face look familiar? I don't know. But anyway, that is all I have.
What is he on the nickel or something?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look him up. Gonna have to look him up and figure that one out. Yeah. Anyway, I hope y'all learned something a little bit from that because, I did definitely. It was interesting to find out about some of these little traditions in the war, and it's kind of sad to say that they were the ones that had to get massacred in order for all the tribes to get united. But, they had their day. They had plenty of battles that they had. Some they won, some they lost. If you get a chance, look some of them up. Just Google it. I mean, worth a shot. I mean, it is one of those things where, hey, that's what they, it's out there for, to, check out. Google.
And also, there are a lot of active tribal things going on still around Norman, Oklahoma, and places out there. Where all those tribes got moved to. There's a lot of pride in being Native American rather than being pushed aside. And the only good Indian is a dead Indian. Well, in Oklahoma and around Norman and places, that's not necessarily true. Now, there are white people that still feel that way, but the Native American community has gotten together, and so they have survived after all these years,
Mm-hmm.
and they have
Yeah.
tried to revive some of their old traditions and dances and beadwork and artwork and so forth. So, I say thank goodness that their tradition isn't totally gone after all these years.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I'm glad that we still got. I'm glad that what I'm glad for is they recorded things, and now we can look back and at least have something, and then they can have their traditions back, and they can have their world, some of their world back, because the white man did all he possibly could to wipe it out, literally wipe it out, and that's what he
Yeah,
did.
because remember, it was against the law for them to do any dances.
Yeah.
And, and so now, they can have powwows and dances at any time. So, lots of things have changed, but, from the things that we've talked about, at the turn of the century, they had it rough. That's why many of them went out with, was it Wild Bill? No, but to join his show so that they could continue to dance and practice their religion.
Yeah, exactly. And so anyway, enough of what I gotta say. So they did record some stuff, and you got some stories tonight for us on those things.
I think we have time maybe to do 3.
Yes. Well, what's our first story here?
They're small stories, short stories. And this first one is called The Great Snake Battle.
Uh-oh. I got the wrong page, don't I? What page I thought you said 14. 13, 14. Sorry. Oh, The Great Snake Battle. There we go.
14, yeah.
Somehow or another, I looked at my numbers and I went, 411. No, it's Great Snake Battle. You're right. Okay. Well, there you go. And I hope everybody enjoys these. The thing is these are from some old books, and at least they recorded some of the stories so we can enjoy them today. Even though you may be or you may not be Indian, you can still enjoy the stories. That's the thing. Maybe it's our duty to learn a little bit about them so that in the future we don't do the same thing that happened back 150 years or so ago. I think that is one of the biggest things we got to really get into is let's not repeat history. Let's learn something from all of this. Preserve what we can, what's left, and learn from that. How's that? Right?
Absolutely. In that, because so much history there are folks who are trying to change history as we speak and mold it to the way they want it to read. And so, our one of our objectives, whether it's intentional or not, is to tell the true story before anybody else changes it, or they wipe out the information and go, no, that's not right. That's not how it went. Oh, no, Custer was a hero. No, Custer was a bloodthirsty, SOB that he was a glory hound, and he got what he deserved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly. Not necessarily about his men that followed him, but, he got what he deserved. But anyway, so hopefully what we present to you is as much of the original history of things as possible. And so, with that said, here is a story that I have heard told from other nations, other tribes. And this is called The Great Snake Battle. There are no characters in this story, which is a little unusual in that almost all of our stories so far up to this point have had at least, the character might be the wind or a turtle, but there are no characters in this story. So, The Great Snake Battle. In olden times, the Indians had a great battle with snakes, and this is how it happened. One day, when a man was hunting, he saw a rattlesnake and tormented it. He caught the snake, made a hole through its body, and putting a bark string through the hole, fastened the snake to the ground. Then he built a fire and saying, "Now fight me." He burned the snake alive. Afterwards, he tormented many snakes in this way, always challenging them to fight. One day, a man who was in the woods heard a great noise and going toward it saw a large number of snakes traveling in one direction. He listened and heard them say, "We will have battle. This fire has challenged us. The battle will be 4 days from now." The man hurried back to the village and told the people what he had seen and heard. The chief sent a number of men to the place, and as far as they could see, there were snakes, all going in one direction. They were going to a council. The men went back and told the chief. He said, "We can't help it. They will force us to fight. We must get ready." They drove 2 rows of stakes the whole length of the village. Then, some distance beyond, piled up a great quantity of wood in long lines. On the 4th day, they set fire to the wood. When the snakes came, they sprang through the fire. Many of them were burned, but so many rushed into the fire that they put it out. Live snakes climbed over the dead, and in spite of the men who were trying to kill them, they reached the 2nd row of stakes. And again, they were killed till the living climbed over the dead, got above the 2nd stakes, and were in the village. Then the battle for life began. The first man killed was Disa, the man who had challenged the snakes. The people fought till the chief, seeing how many were being killed, screamed that he surrendered. Then a snake with an enormous body and head came out of the ground and said, "I am chief of all the snakes. We will go away from your village if you will promise that as long as the world lasts, your people will not injure or torment my people." The chief promised, and the snakes went away. The end.
Well, that was a
Now,
good
this
one.
next story coming up.
Oh, we got another one. Yep. Okay, hang on a second. That was good. So, do you think the snakes were, another people, or referring to another people like the Sioux were named, called little snakes? Do you think it has anything to do with that?
I think in olden times, and actually, it's kind of interesting today that there are some folks that play with snakes or handle snakes, that they have this connection somehow. I think some of it's a little dumb, but, um, I know that there are snakes around my house I wouldn't kill, and that they've been in my house before, so, the joining the snake clan was something that was very powerful back in the day. If you were a medicine man or woman, and mostly a medicine man, but if you chose the snake card, for example, then you had to get bitten by a snake and survive it, and then you became a member of the snake clan.
I see.
So,
Okay.
it was very traumatic, but, very powerful. If you survived a rattlesnake bite back in those days, that was a big deal.
Big medicine. Big medicine. Okay. Next
So
story.
our next story for tonight. The hunter who became a fish. Two brothers started off to hunt. After they had camped, they heard a peculiar noise, and one of them said, "I'm going to find out what that is." And he followed the sound. It seemed to come from inside a hollow tree. Thinking there might be a bear in the tree, the young man ran back to camp and said to his brother, "There must be a bear in that tree over there, but it makes a noise like a whirlwind." They went to the tree, and one of them climbed up and looked into the hole. At first, he couldn't see anything. Then at the bottom of the hole, he saw a spotted trout jumping around. He got the trout out and threw it down to his brother, who said, "This is a curious fish. Let's take it to camp." "Don't touch it," said the other. "It might be something that will harm us." But the young man didn't listen. He took the trout to the camp, cleaned it, and ate it. Right away, he said, "Bring me some water. I am thirsty." Water was brought, and he drank and kept drinking. Couldn't drink enough. "I think the fish is making you sick," said his brother. "Get more water," was the answer. "Take my moccasins and fill them." When the young man was tired of bringing water, he said to his brother, "You must go to the spring where you can drink all the water you want." He went to the spring, drank till he was tired, then rested and drank again. When the other brother went to the spring, he was frightened. His brother's mouth was like the mouth of a fish. "Doesn't your mouth feel strange?" he asked. The man put up his hand, and then he knew that his mouth had grown large, but he kept on drinking. The next time the young man went to the spring, his brother was half fish, fish to the waist, and he was still drinking water. Later, he went to the spring and found that his brother had become a fish and gone into the water. The next morning, when the young man went to the spring, he saw a great fish far under the water, and the spring had become a pond. He sat down on the bank, and soon the fish rose to the surface and said, "My poor brother, go home and tell our father what has happened to me. When you want fish, come here and get all you need. This pond will always be full of fish." The young man went home and told what had taken place. The people came to the pond. The fish rose to the surface and said, "I shall not be a fish long. I am going to be a nagawahi." Soon the fish changed to a nagawahi, a great bear. The bear stayed around the pond, and of each party that came to fish, it killed and ate one man. Nobody saw this, but each party always lost one of its number. And the people began to think that if the bear lived long enough, it would kill a great many men. A council was called to decide what to do, and 3 young men promised to kill the bear. They went to the pond, but never came back. The bear's brother said, "I will go to the pond. Maybe I can drive him away." And taking parched corn flour to eat, new moccasins to wear, and a good bow and 12 arrows, he went to the pond and camped on the bank. That night he dreamed that his brother, in the form of a man, came to him and asked, "Why are you here? I can kill you." And he answered, "I came to drive you away, for you are doing a great deal of harm." The man said, "I will start at daylight and run. Follow and see if you can overtake me. The next morning, the young man went in the direction the man had indicated, running as fast as he could. Just at midday, he saw bear tracks and he called out, "Now I'll overtake you." He ran faster than before, ran till dark, then camped and built a fire. When he opened his bundle of corn flour, it had turned to ants. He had nothing to eat. The bear had done this to deprive his brother of food. While the young man sat by the fire thinking, he heard someone approaching. He knew it was the bear, and he had drawn his bow ready to aim when the bear called out, "Wait, brother, till I talk with you. If you will let me go, I will start early tomorrow morning and leave this part of the country forever." The brother said, "I will let you go." They parted, and the next morning the young man went back to his village and told the people what had happened and said, "You can fish in the lake as much as you like. No one will trouble you." And so it proved. The end.
Yay! All righty, good one. There's Queen Peachy Keen. And hey, Scotty boy. And Jeannie Griffith says it's past my bedtime. Well, thank you for joining us. Let's see. So, anyway, fish stories. Yes, fish stories. Anyway, that was a good one. That was kind of neat. Well, a lot of killing, but still.
Well, a lot of eating.
no head chopping.
The bear was hungry, but
yes. We got another one?
Yep, the next one down the line is 2 Seneca women escaped from Cherokee captivity. And since we sort of talked about the Cherokee and other folks, and anyway, so here goes the story. Again, there are not any major characters that are listed at the top of the story. 3 of them in a row. How about that? 2 Seneca women escaped from Cherokee captivity. 2 sisters were gathering wood not far from home. The elder sister had a baby with her, a little boy. A part of Cherokees captured them. When the husband and friends found that the women had been carried away, they called a council, and it was decided not to pursue the Cherokees, lest they might kill the women. When the sisters found that they were near the Cherokee country, the elder sister, who had a flint knife hidden under her blanket, planned an escape. In the night, when the men were asleep, she found that the ends of the rope binding herself and her sister were on the ground under one of the men, and she knew that if she could cut the ropes, she could free herself and sister. She cut them very cautiously. They were going to lead the baby, but it was about to cry, and the mother said, "Let us die together," and she took it. They were not far away when someone called out, "The women are gone." Then they saw firebrands. Each man had taken one and started in pursuit. The sisters went south. The men went north, for they thought the women would try to get home. The sisters ran toward the south, as they thought, till they came near a fire and saw a man shaking a squash rattle and singing. Then they knew that they were back at the place they had started from. The elder sister said, "We must try again. When we come to the tree ahead, we will go to the next one ahead," and so on. They traveled in this way till morning, then took the direction toward home. When night came, they rested. The next day, the sisters traveled till dark, then made a bed on the ground. In the night, the younger sister heard a voice say, "Is this where you are resting?" "It is," she answered. Then the voice said, "Keep on, and you'll come back to the place where you were captured. No danger will meet you. Tomorrow you'll find something to eat." The woman wakened her sister and told her what the voice had said. The next day, when the sun was in the middle of the sky, the women came upon a deer, apparently just killed. They saw a smoke near a log and found a smoldering fire. They kindled the fire and cooked meat, ate a good meal, and started on, carrying as much meat as they were able to. They traveled a number of days, and when the meat was about gone, they saved what was left for the child. One night, a voice came again to the younger sister and said, "You are on the right road and will come to your village before many days. You'll find plenty of food." She told her sister what she had heard. They walked till nearly midday. Then she said, "There is something white ahead. What is it?" It was a patch of wild potatoes. While digging the potatoes, the woman saw a smoke and found a few live coals. They gathered sticks and made a fire. After roasting potatoes and eating a plenty, they started on, each taking in a bundle as many potatoes as they were able to carry. They traveled a number of days longer. The potatoes were almost gone. Then one night, the younger sister heard a voice say, "You'll reach home tomorrow at midday. The people will come together, and you will tell them what has happened and sing the song, Yanto Wisas." This song belongs to women. You must sing, "We have come home. We are here." When you enter the longhouse, go once around it and say, "We have come home. I want you to know that we are the Haidio Yangiono and that we have watched over you." When the woman wakened, she told her sister what the voice had said. The next day, about noon, they heard chopping, and soon they saw their uncle, who was out cutting blocks to make ladles. They called to him, "Uncle, we've come home." He looked at them and asked, "Are you living women?" "We are," they answered. And then he cried out. He was so glad. They told the old man what the voice had said, and he called the people together. When all were assembled in the longhouse, the sisters began to sing as the voice had told them to do. This song is still sung by Seneca women. The narrator of the story said that Haidio Yangiono were spirits. The end. So how about that for a couple of stories for tonight?
Well, that's pretty darn good. If I do say so myself. So
Not a lot of head chopping, you know?
no, yeah, no head chopping. What's off? What's the matter with you? You didn't pick a head chopping story?
Or three, we went through three without head choppings,
Yeah.
you know? How about that? But we did have somebody turned into a fish, so, you know.
Yeah. F Kitty says I thought the Seneca were in NE. Isn't that like Nebraska or what is NE? NE. But I think the Seneca were in like Kentucky, Georgia, Virginia area, wasn't it?
I don't remember Georgia.
They were Eastern Indians anyway.
Yeah, more so, but they all got moved west. Remember?
Yes, they all got moved west to Oklahoma.
One way or the other. I mean, they might have been more eastern band, and if the white man showed up, they migrated west.
Yes, exactly. I think all tribes did. They were either moved to reservations or they were wiped out. Jeannie says,
Yeah, they migrated on their own at first, and then they were forced to.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It says Seneca homelands, Finger Lakes area of central New York, and the Genesee Valley in western New York. So New York area, central. Yeah. Well, you don't want to be in central New York because it's too darn busy there. At least nowadays, right? Too populated for me. But yeah, all those people would have been moved westward. And of course, it was, it all boils down to competition for food, hunting lands, farmland, things like that. The white man was in contest with the Indians because the white man wanted resources like the timber in the woodlands. They wanted the buffalo in the plains. They wanted the gold in the hills. Yeah, the Indians didn't want none of that. They just wanted hunting land. Leave them off their so leave my animals alone. And but we didn't.
But also, think about this. With the white man came, they dammed up streams and made, had water wheels for grinding corn. And so it wasn't just that they moved in. They moved in with all kinds of stuff, with technology. And, when you start damming up streams and things, I mean, we still have issues with that today. But, they were doing it back then, and the white people needed it. They needed something to crush their corn, but the Indians sat around and the women did it. They crushed their corn too. But anyway, so Robert, I have pulled cards for tonight. Do we have time?
Yes, we do. Go ahead.
All righty. Unfortunately, the cards that I've pulled, every one of them's upside down. So, the first one is Armadillo, number 28 in the book. And armor all my boundaries, teach me my shields, reflect all the hurt, so I will not yield. The armadillo is all about boundaries. Armadillo wears its armor on its back, and its medicine is a part of its body. Its boundaries of safety are a part of its total being. Armadillo can roll into a ball and never be penetrated by enemies. But I hate the little suckers because they've dug holes in my yard all over. What a gift it is to set your boundaries so that harmful words or intentions just roll off. Your lesson is in setting up what you are willing to experience. The lesson is in setting up what you are willing to experience, your boundaries. If you do not wish to experience feeling invaded, just call an armadillo medicine. Now the upside, the upside downside. Go ahead, roll up and hide. This, sarcastically, is the message of reversed armadillo. You may think the only way to win in your present situation is to hide or pretend that you are armor-coated and invincible. But this is not the way to grow. Think about that. Don't roll up in a ball because you can't grow that way. It is better to open up and find the value and strength of your vulnerability. You will experience something wonderful if you do. Vulnerability is the key to enjoying the gifts of physical life. In allowing yourself to feel a myriad of expressions, you are made available. For instance, a true compliment is an admiration flow of energy. If you are afraid of being hurt and are hiding from feeling anything, you will never feel the joy of admiration from others. The key is in allowing Armadillo to help you to stop hiding and to use Armadillo's armor to deflect any negative energies. In this way, you are able to accept or reject any feeling, action, or energy flow without having to hide from it. The underside of Armadillo is soft, but its armor will protect this softness if the boundaries are in place. The only real rejection is to not try to break out of the armor you have used to protect yourself. Is the armor now becoming a jail and your fears the jailer? Be careful. That's Armadillo. The next one is Bear. We haven't had Bear in a while. Number 5 in the book. And there are things that I am skipping over, but I want to get to all. I pulled 4 cards. Bear is introspection, but this card is upside down as well. Bear, invite me into the cave where silence surrounds the answers you gave. The strength of bear medicine is the power of introspection. Now think about this. We just had Armadillo, which is like crawl up into a ball, and so, but not to stay there too long. The bear lies in the west on the great medicine wheel of life. Bear seeks honey, or the sweetness of truth, within the hollow of an old tree. In the winter, when the ice queen reigns, and the face of death is upon the earth, Bear enters the womb cave to hibernate, to digest the year's experience. It is said that our goals inside the West, our goals reside in the West. To accomplish the goals and dreams we carry, the art of introspection is necessary. Now, the contrary of this is if you've drawn Bear reversed, your internal dialogue may have confused your perception of your true goals. In seeking answers or advice from others, you may have placed your own feelings and knowing aside. The time has come to regain your authority, for no one knows better than yourself what is proper and timely for your evolution. Now think about, the armor of Armadillo. Don't stay rolled up in a ball. Open up and experience the world. Reclaim the power of knowing. Find joy in the silence and richness of the mother's womb. Allow the thoughts of confusion to be laid to rest as clarity emerges from the west, nurturing your dreams as the Earth Mother nourishes us all. Journey the bear to the quietness of your cave and hibernate in silence. Dream your dreams and own them. Then in strength, you will be ready to discover the honey waiting in the tree of life. The next card pulled was the turkey, number 31. And turkey, I think, is the giver or something. Almost. Turkey is a giveaway. Now, bear, remember, bear is introspection, okay? Turkey is a giveaway. Ho, brother turkey, so freely you give of everything that you are, so others may truly live. Turkey is the giveaway. Turkey is actually thought to be the giveaway eagle or the south eagle of many native tribes. The philosophy of giveaway was practiced by many, many tribes. Simply stated, it is the deep and abiding recognition of the sacrifices of both self and others. People in the modern day society who have many times more than they need should study the noble turkey who sacrifices itself so that we may live. In turkey's death, we have our life. Honor turkey. There are several aspects to pulling the gobbler. Now, this is upside down. To pulling the gobbler card in the reverse position. Are you gobbling up anything and everything out of fear of lack? Are you holding on too tight and refusing to let go of a dime for charity? It could be that the Scrooge in you has grown accustomed to the miserly aspect of living. If not, you might look at the possibility that you are fearful of spending money at this time, possibly. Another aspect of contrary gobbling is the idea that the world owes you something and that you do not need to recycle the energy. The buck stops here may only mean that it stops in your bank account. On all levels of this contrary message, the keynote is that generosity of spirit is being neglected. They want me to repeat that. On all levels of this contrary message, the keynote is that generosity of spirit is being neglected. This can be towards self, the generosity of spirit now, or towards others. And it can be towards self. And a lot of times that's what it is. Remember, never give to receive. That is manipulation. Giving is without regret. And with a joyful heart, or the giveaway has lost its true meaning. And that means to yourself, if you try to give yourself a gift, but you're doing it out of regret or something else, that you didn't really get the gift. Now, this last card, which was interesting, I got 4 of them tonight. I couldn't get rid of it. The bat card kept showing up. Every time I tried to get rid of it and bury it, it kept showing up. So, and I think we had bat last week, didn't we? So, but anyway, the contrary bat. Bat is rebirth. So thinking about the armadillo and the bear who's like, we're going to go into, we're going to hibernate and think about things. And we've got the armor of armadillo to help us. And, the spirit is warning us that, maybe we're a little crippled in our spirit, in our generosity, even with self. So bat is number 42 in his rebirth. Sacred bat flew to me from the darkness of the cave. Womb-like reflections, answers it gave. Birth, death, rebirth, cycles of the whole, never ending, just eclipsed. The journey of the soul, eclipsed, coming up soon. Oh, and my family members just up in Ohio are right in the path of it, by the way. The eclipse, that is. Steeped in the mystery of the Mesoamerican tribal ritual is the legend of the bat. Akin to the ancient Buddhist belief in reincarnation in Central America, bat is the symbol of rebirth. The bat has for centuries been a treasured medicine of the Aztec, the Toltec, the Tolkien, and the Mayan peoples. Bat embraces the idea of a shamanistic death. The ritual death of the healer is steeped in secrets and highly involved initiation. Shaman death is a symbolic death of the initiate to the old ways of life and personal identity. So now the contrary is this. If bat is still hanging upside down in the cave and immersed in darkness, you have met its contrary medicine. This position leads to stagnation of the spirit and a refusal to acknowledge your true identity, which is always to use the talents you have to the fullest. Always use your talents to the fullest. Is there some area of your life that has dammed up? and therefore stopped your desire to create? If so, look at surrendering to the death of that stagnation, the death of the stagnation. So here you got the armor of the armadillo. You've got the grace of bear and introspection. You've got turkey as the giveaway and the learning of the spirit. And now Bat is trying to tell you to, are you still in the dark? Basically, is there some area of your life that has dammed up and therefore stopped your desire to create? That can also imply that in the reversal of your natural cycle of rebirth, you are trying to go at life in a backwards mode. That's interesting. Be sure you ain't backing up. This is a breach of birth in a sense. This type of occluded understanding of how to go about freeing yourself can lead to a stillbirth. If you struggle too long in the birth canal, the final outcome can be death of the body. Some people think themselves into a corner. Think about this. Some people think of themselves into a corner with obstacles that are illusionary. Be careful of this. And right now, there's a lot of illusionary stuff going around. By the time they decide what to do, the opportunities are gone and old age is upon them. All of their dreams have passed them by. Reverse Bat says to use your mind, courage, and strength to ensure an easy labor in your rebirth and quick delivery. Surrender to the new life you have created from thought and desire and bravely greet the dawn. So there you go. Thank you, spirits. I appreciate it.
Yeah, there you go. Good messages tonight. Good message.
And I kept it under 2 hours.
Yeah. A few minutes.
I made it. 2 hours and wait a minute. An hour and 57 minutes. There you go. All righty then.
Yeah. There you go. Well, son of a gun. Well, another show. Here we go. Tell you what, we're getting really good at this and good stuff. So people, I hope you get something good out of them messages. Enjoy the stories. And best of all, if you learn anything about the Cheyenne and you're interested in it, go look them up. That's what it's all about. Go look the stuff up, check out things. All the stuff I learn by studying for each show blows my mind. And if you guys would learn half of that, it would blow your mind too. If and it's little tidbits like I learned about the painting ceremony, where they stop. Hey guys, stop! We're gonna paint our stuff up because we were successful. That way, when we walk in, we're like, hey, look at us. I thought that was really interesting. But the story always points in the same direction. They were fine. They were doing their thing. They were living their lives. Life was good. And then the white man came. And the white man didn't care about the Indian. He stepped on him like a bug. And he wanted the resources. He wanted to move across the land and build railroads. He didn't care about the migration of the buffalo. He just seen the buffalo as dollar signs and how many I can shoot in a day. There was 30 million buffalo roaming the plains when the white man showed up. And when the white man decided that the buffalo could be used for material, they were shooting them by the 100,000 a day. To feed the men at the railroad, to for the buffalo skins, the skins of the hides. And then when all the buffalo were shot and there was no more buffalo on the plains, and it was reduced to maybe 1,000 critters left on this planet Earth. Then they said, hey, let's go out there and collect all the bones. We can make some money on the buffalo bones by grinding them up and making fertilizer and bone meal out of them. I mean, so there you go. You know, and that's we just, you know, decimated everything. And then we killed off the Indians and we put them on little bitty chunks of land. And I feel sorry for them. I mean, their way of culture, their life, their everything. And, you know, do I have any part of that? No. I mean, I just come into the mix here now and I says, wow, you know, I can't believe we lived like that. I can't believe we've done that. And we can't give it back to them. We can't abandon their houses. We can't, you know, say, here, go live on the plains, because they don't want to do that anymore. They're just like us now. They want all the goods and services that we got. They want cell phones and they want clothes and they want TVs and houses and cars to drive around in. We've ruined them. We've ruined them. I just hope they preserve some of their culture for their future generations. So I got that. Hawkeye, what do you got?
Basically, you know, I'm having, you know, met many people over the years through powwows and stuff. There are those who are very concerned about keeping the old culture alive, like Kashka LaRue, who was Tlingit, and he was a legend keeper, one of 42 or 44 other legend keepers. And, you know, and the fact that they, you know, their oral tradition, well, I guess it's been close to 20 years ago now, the state of Alaska has accepted their oral traditions as part of the history. So, but anyway, but meeting these people, you know, there are those youngins who are like, yeah, well, you know, when they were young, their parents took them to a powwow and they did a dance or something, but then they got older and had to get a job and earn a living, but they became American, but not in the way people would think. Most of the ones that I met had old cars. You know, they didn't have a new Cadillac. You know, and the folks on the res were always, you know, buying used cars and breaking them down and whatever. And so this idea that now then there are those who have casinos. That's a different story. Yeah. But like on Pine Ridge and some of these reservations, they don't have a lot. They don't have a lot of knickknacks in the house. They don't have a lot of, you know, if they've got a refrigerator that works, they're happy. It doesn't have to be the new one with an ice maker, you know. But so they're, even though they might be, you know, Americanized in ways, some of the tribes and folks that I've met are not into all of the what the white man presents. Not all the toys and everything. They might go for a, you know, a video game or something, but you know, that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but anyway, so I'm glad that those Native folks who still feel that tradition is important, I'm glad that they keep it in their hearts.
Yep, absolutely. And with that, you got a show tonight?
I think so.
All right. Everybody go over there and tune on in. He's got to grab a cup of coffee, let out Duggar for a bit, and then back on track. Yeah. And there's Amber Dawn. Haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Sorry it's late now, but anyway, we're getting ready to sign off. Anyway, join David Null in a little bit on his channel. Anyway, link.
I'm proud y'all showed up. Thank you.
Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and leave a comment or something in the comment section. Everything helps the algorithm. I'm really working towards that 1,000 subscribers this year. That's my goal. And I swear I am not going to pay one of those guys who keep emailing me saying, if you give us $10 a month, we'll get you 1,000 more subscribers. We'll help your algorithm. You know what? I want to be naturally grown. I want to know that the 1,000 people who subscribe to me did it because they like what I'm doing, not because they did it because some guy screwed with the algorithm and then got me a bunch of bot people to subscribe to my channel so it looks like I'm doing really well. I want my people, and I earned them because I did a good job. And I thank each and every one of you for being here tonight, and all the people in the future for their tuning in and listening to what I have to say and what David has to say about all of the stuff, listening to the stories, joining us on the shorts, and everything in between. Now, with that, remember, don't forget to join me and whoever I got on this Saturday for a guest, because it'll be good. It always is. And then Sunday night, I'll be on with Nita the Mystic for more Anunnaki stories. So, tune in over there. Tune in Saturday night, and I promise we'll all have a great time. And with that, go out and do something nice for your neighbor, your friends, something. It'll make you feel good. Say hi to somebody. Smile at them, even if it's at somebody at the grocery store. It'll make their day. That's being the frequency you want to receive, everyone. Love you all. Peace, everybody.
Cheers.